Ecuador's police reported that 2 new explosions occurred in the city of Cuenca, located in the center-south of the country, with no fatalities. This Friday, September the 1st, marks the one-year anniversary of the assassination attempt against the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. In France, the pension reform proposed by the President Emmanuel Macron goes into effect. Hello from the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba. This is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. The National Police and the Fire Brigade of Ecuador reported that 2 new explosions occurred on Thursday in the city of Cuenca, located in the center-south of the country, with no fatalities. The first explosion was reported in the structure of a bridge at the municipality of Sayusí, northwest of Cuenca, causing damage to pipes and asphalt. The second event was caused by the detonation of an explosive device inside a vehicle in Totoracocha, in the east of the country. These events come right after the detonation of 2 car bombs in Quito, the country's capital, on Wednesday night and early Thursday morning, which also left no injured people. Police authorities reported on that 6 people had been detained for these attacks in the capital. In Panama, the first round of debate of the National Assembly's Commerce Commission to discuss the approval of the concession contract between the state and Minera de Panamá, a subsidiary of the Canadian company First Quantum Minerals, ended on Thursday. The Commission had been in permanent session since Monday, August 28th, and more than 200 speakers have already participated, including social leaders, environmentalists, miners, and business persons. Next week, the discussion will move to the districts of Donoso and Omar Torrijos Herrera, both belonging to the province of Colón, where the mining project is proposed. Meanwhile, for the next Tuesday, the Panama United People's Alliance has called for a rally in front of the National Assembly to reject the contract signed by the government and Minera de Panamá as illegal and a violation of sovereignty.
I would also like to point out that this is a contract that infringes on national sovereignty. This is forbidden by the Constitution, and I ask, are the deputies going to approve a contract that, if only has 1 article and it's unconstitutional, would you necessarily be obliged to reject it? I would like to point out that in the face of the profit of a multinational company, because resources are Panamanian but the company is not, I'm not obliged, and I warn that I would not recognize any contract that violates the Constitution of this country, that damages the lives of our Panamanian men and women, that damages our resources.
In Honduras, the different political forces could not reach consensus in the National Congress to elect the new Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General of the Public Ministry for the 2023-2028 term. In this context, the President of the Congress determined that the head of the Specialized Prosecutorial Unit Against Corruption Networks, Luis Javier Santos, would remain at the head of the Attorney General's Office of the nation on a provisional basis. The term of office of the former prosecutors ended on August 31st, so the Congress was set to appoint their replacements. However, after a prolonged session, none of the candidates reached the qualified majority of 86 votes required by the law out of the 128 deputies. The provisional appointment will therefore remain in the position until the forces reach a consensus to vote the new head of the public ministry. During a dialogue with journalists this Thursday, the president of Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, gave an opinion on the proposal of the far-right candidate for the presidency of Argentina, Javier Milei, to dollarize the southern country. In this sense, Arce affirmed that the success of the Bolivian economic model was based on reverting the dollarization process.
I remember when I used to go abroad as a Minister of Economy to explain the success of our economy policy and our economy model. They wondered why our economy was so successful. One of the elements of the success of our economy was to revert the process of dollarization towards Bolivianization, because this implies, from the point of view of economy policy, recovering a very valuable element such as monetary policy. When we are in a dollarized economy, there is no monetary policy.
This Friday, September the 1st, marks the one-year anniversary of the assassination attempt against the Vice President of Argentina, Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. On the first anniversary of the moment when Fernando Sabac Montiel fired his gun at a few centimeters away from Cristina Kirchner's face, social and political organizations and referents recall with concern this event. In this way, they claim the numerous links between the known perpetrators of the attack and the far-right groups and opposition leaders from Juntos por el Cambio, Together for Change, have not been thoroughly investigated. At the moment of the failed assassination attempt, a first for Argentina's recent history, both Patricia Bullrich and Javier Milei, current presidential candidates for the right and far-right political parties, failed to condemn the attack. Cristina Kirchner, Argentina's maximum popular leader, denounced there is a mafia and a parallel state in full operation in the Southern Republic.
This is to explain the system that is working in Argentina and to put an end to the theorizing activity of the lawfare in the party. No, mafia and parallel state. That's what is happening in Argentina, and that is why today I've been condemned to 6 years in jail and perpetual disablement. This is the real sentence. This is what they wanted, perpetual disablement. They would be able to put me in prison on December 10th. That is, as long as some businessman, another Caputo, does not think of financing any other gang of criminals, and before December 10, 2023, they shoot me. That is what they want, prison or death.
In the Caribbean, the word conuco comes from the indigenous languages and names a small parcel of agricultural land. In this occasion, we bring you the story of Las Conuqueras, a group of women in the Venezuelan state of Carabobo that found in communal agriculture the solutions to their families' hardships, sometimes with their bare hands. Today, they feed, nurture, and give a purpose to their community through self-sustained agriculture with governmental assistance. They are the protagonists of this newest episode of the series Venezuela on the Move, a production of our colleagues Adriana Sibori and Jesus Romero. Enjoy.
Not even the burning sun or the difficulties that may arise can stop their work. They are known as Conuqueras women, and they are farmers.
I have been working here for 10 years for this community. Apart from that, I also study and work. Within the same agricultural zone, there are people like women who are seamstresses, housewives, who do other activities. We organize ourselves either in the morning or in the afternoon to have the possibility of doing all the activities.
Dulby takes care of some of the plots of land in the morning shift. Her son and her daughter-in-law live with her and sometimes help her in the fields.
I teach mathematics in a high school, a public high school. We are people with an enormous treasure, but more than that, of producing, of creating, of doing different things. There is something that we should always keep in mind, which is community, and we should never lose that.
Everything they grow is for their families and the community itself. To this day, they have produced 40,000 kilograms of food, cereals, fruits, and vegetables.
At first it was hard because we started with our hands, with just our hands. We started using spades and machetes to plant. Then we started to work with institutions. We contacted them and they came and they saw that what we were doing was a reality.
Now they receive training, they have instruments, and they have been able to build a deep water well for irrigation. And the government has also given land titles to these organized women. In this town, Conuqueras women serve and distribute the food house by house to more than 13,000 people.
Adriana Sibori, Jesus Romero, TeleSUR, Carabobo, Venezuela.
And if you enjoyed this one, you can find more episodes of our series Venezuela on the Move in YouTube and other platforms. Now let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find the news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back. In France, the pension reform proposed by the President Emmanuel Macron goes into effect. The new law is imposed to raise the minimum retirement age from 62 to 64. Another of the main measures of the reform is the increase of up to 43 years of contribution to be able to receive full pension. The law, approved by the French government, citing Article 49.3 of the Constitution without the need to go through Parliament, provoked months of social unrest called by the workers' unions and the country's society. The UK government announced that more than 100 schools will be shut after or over safety concerns, as they were built with a certain type of concrete which is prone to collapse. The government gave the order just days before the students returned to school for the start of the autumn term. The type of concrete forcing the closures is reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, known as the RAAZ. The Department of Education said the concrete could be found in 572 schools across England. Concrete experts said the alarm is real, as the material could give in without warning.
It could be very dangerous because they could fail without any warning. However, when you consider how many schools have rack concrete in them, we've only had one failure, but one failure is probably too many for anybody else to really take that liability and risk.
On Friday, the European Commission approved the use of a new version of the BioNTech Pfizer's COVID-19. Under the name of Comirnaty XBB.1.5, the vaccine is suitable for adults as well as children and infants older than 6 months, and is intended to increase the breadth of immunity against dominant and new variants. According to European Medicines Agency recommendations, the vaccine should be administered in a single dose regardless of vaccination schemes. The approval of the new shot comes as European authorities are preparing for a possible new outbreak of the disease in the autumn-winter session. A modification of the contract with BioNTech Pfizer signed in May 2023 guarantees that the member states have access to vaccines adapted to the new variants of COVID-19. And the Icelandic government has decided to resume hunting whales, although with stricter conditions. Iceland approves resumption of whaling and note to extend the temporary ban on this controversial activity. The Minister for Food, Agriculture and Fisheries, Svandís Svavarsdóttir, confirmed the resumption of whaling as of Friday. However, there will be a number of new conditions in which hunters will have to adopt stricter requirements regarding the equipment used and the methods employed. They will also be subject to greater supervision. The start of the hunting season had been postponed due to a critical report on the compatibility of this practice with animal welfare laws, which triggered a heated debate on the issue in the country, one of the few where cetaceans are still commercially hunted. Now we move on to other topics. On Friday, southeastern Chinese provinces braced for the arrival of the super typhoon Zaola as the authorities closed non-essential services and canceled flights. The emergency response level was raised to the highest level in Guangdong province, southern China, on Friday. As a result, trading on the Hong Kong stock market was suspended and more than 400 flights were canceled or delayed in the key hub for regional business and travel. In turn, mainland China's railway authorities ordered all trains in and out of Guangdong province to be suspended, and workers were asked to stay at home until the storm passes. TeleSUR English launches its own videos on demand site for you to go and revisit our interviews, the top stories, the special broadcastings, and more. Just go to the top left corner in our website homepage and click on the video option to access our VOD platform. And now we will have a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Friday, the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs affirmed that the country is willing to improve its relationship with the Vatican. The statement comes after Pope Francis sent a note to Beijing with the aim of achieving a rapprochement between the parties.
China has taken note of the relevant reports. The Vatican's blessing showed friendship and goodwill in recent years. China has maintained communication with the Vatican. China is willing to continue the walk in the same direction as the Vatican, carry out constructive dialogue, enhance understanding, accumulate mutual trust, and promote the process of improving the relationship between the two sides.
And the Pope Francis arrived in Mongolia on Friday to support the country's small Catholic community and to promote inter-religious dialogue. It is the first time a Pope has visited the Asian country, which hosts one of the world's smallest and newest Catholic communities. The Pontiff plane was received by an escort of honor guards in traditional clothing. The schedule of the visit indicates that September the 2nd will be destined for institutional appointments during the morning with civil authorities, including the President and the Prime Minister, and in the afternoon with bishops, priests, and missionaries. The Pope will also celebrate a Mass on September the 3rd at the Steppe Arena for believers living in Mongolia, the majority of whom live in the capital, but he will also have the participation of 1,000 other believers from neighboring countries such as Russia, China, and Thailand. On Friday, another Palestinian man has been shot and killed by the Israeli forces during a raid in the occupied West Bank town, following a confrontation that resulted in a building being destroyed. Abdul Rahim Fayez Ganham, 36 years old, was shot in the head in Aqaba, north of Tubas, and pronounced dead at the local hospital. Nidal Odeh, director of emergency services in Aqaba, told local media that Israeli forces prevented ambulances from reaching the wounded, and one ambulance was directly targeted with live ammunition. Israeli forces raided the town on early morning looking for another man who they accused of carrying out a shooting attack near a checkpoint in the Jordan Valley last month. According to the United Nations, 2023 is the deadliest year for Palestinians since fatality records began, as more than 200 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces since January this year. Iran's foreign minister visited Lebanon on Friday and offered his country's support to help the Middle Eastern nation with its electricity crisis. Hossein Amir Abdullahian said Tehran is ready to help build power stations in Lebanon to end a decades-old electricity shortage. Electricity cuts last for most of the day in the small Mediterranean country, and the majority of the population relies on expensive private generators. Lebanon has been under a void of power since the term of the President Michel Aoun ended in October last year amid deep divisions between rival groups, with the parliament failing 12 consecutive times to elect a new leader. The nation is also under a spiraling economy with cash crisis and an ostensible devaluation of its currency. In Chad, thousands of people fleeing the war in Sudan have crossed international territory to find themselves in overcrowded camps, triggering a parallel humanitarian crisis. The war between the Sudanese army and paramilitaries has forced 4.5 million people to flee their homes. Although most have remained in the Sudanese territory, more than 1 million have fled to neighboring countries, and it is estimated that more than 400,000 people have arrived in Chad, 60,000 of them Syrian returnees. The coordinator of Doctors Without Borders in the Adre area, Susanna Borges, pointed out that the people are feeding their children with insects, herbs, and leaves. In addition, they have much less water than they need, and most of them have not been fed for more than 5 weeks.
Most of our parents suffer from malaria, eye infection, respiratory disease, and malnutrition. The field hospital where we work is very small, and we need to make the space a little bit bigger.
And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.